Welcome to another Figuring Out Japan video. We sell all the coolest Japanese collectibles and figurines straight out of Japan, and you can find out more details about us in the description of this video, including our eBay store and our Facebook page. So in this video I'm actually going to be reviewing the figure that you see here in the foreground, which is the Android 18, and she was released in the SCultures Series 3 line, and was actually voted the winner for the best figure in that particular line. So what I might do firstly is show you the box for that. So this is what the box looks like. This was Series 3, as you can see, of the SCultures line. And there is the print saying that it was the winning. So fans vote before the figure's release. Fans can see sort of like the prototype images, and they can vote for which figure they like the best. That was the sculptor. It's very dark, isn't it? Sorry. And then there's the top with the gold toe animation sticker. So, and then all the stuff printed on the bottom, including that it is a Japanese exclusive. So let's now have a look at the figure. Now there were two things that were actually unique about the Series 3 line of figures that Banpresto released. The first is that there were only 5 figures released in that line. All the others have had 6 or 8, and it's very odd for Banpresto to release things in an uneven number or an odd number. Just because usually figures are released in pairs. So I don't know why they did that with this particular series. The other thing is that all of the SCultures figures have this kind of, it looks black, it's actually kind of more of a brown, semi-transparent plastic base. All of the figures in Series 3 did not have that base. They all had some kind of different base. So for example, Majin Buu had like a Deborah cookie for the base. You saw on the back of the box before we had Chi-Chi on the Nimbus Cloud. So, and then obviously Android 18, you have the base here. So a little bit different for this one, but anyway, there it is. So the first thing I might actually show you is the base. So this is what the base looks like. And you can see that it's pretty damn cool. I mean, the paint job is really good. It's actually a kind of shiny metallic as well. You've got nice toning, you've got nice details. Even the way the metal looks like it's sort of been deformed and twisted, it's extremely realistic. I think we've lost focus a little bit there. So you can just see just how much detail there is in that piece. So, and obviously the flat part for it to sit on. So even like that's at the back. I mean, you can't even see that, and yet they still went to the trouble of, you know, having that detail on there. So the base is very, very cool, and the figure itself sits in very easily. It's got a pin, you know, butt there, and then obviously a hole in the foot to sit on there, and that sits very, very easy to put in. There you go, and you know, it's pretty stable. She's not going to fall off. So let's now have a look at the figure. So I really love that pose that they've got her in. You know, it's like she's just sort of destroyed a city, and she's just kind of looking happy and sort of admiring her work. You know, looking around at the destruction she's caused, and even sitting on some of her, you know, destruction. So I really like the pose. It's a very sort of android. You know, the androids kind of, they were so strong. They had the world at their feet. You know, they weren't worried about Goku and co. I mean, they were just very sort of confident in their place until Cell, of course, appeared. And the sculpt job itself is really impressive. Just like the base, I mean, you can see the detail, like the rings on the boot, and sorry, I think we keep losing focus a little bit here. yeah, so you can see the detailing on the boot, and then she's got her tights, and then her sort of leather jeans, and you can see even the lines on her dress and the pockets, the buttons, the belt. You've got the red ribbon, sort of trademark red ribbon army, and even a sort of grunge look with the jeans, like even like her sort of sleeves there, you can see they kind of look a little bit shabby or worn, which is like all the fashion now, isn't it? So that it actually looks like sort of proper denim, even though it's like a plastic. So very, very, very detailed figure. And even her hair. It actually feels quite cool when you put your finger on it. So, yeah, really, really good sculpt. And the other thing I really like about this is it really sort of captures her femininity. She looks very, yeah, I mean, she looks like a woman, basically. I mean, she's sort of got these sort of petite hands, even her arms, you know, they're quite sort of thin and skinny. And, you know, even her eyebrows, you know, nice and thin with the eyelashes, her sort of slender face, you know, she's got her head going back, got the earrings there. So they've really sort of captured, obviously she's got, you know, a bit of cleavage there and that sort of stuff. So it's really, and that's pretty hard to do. I mean, I used to draw a lot of Dragon Ball characters in my free time as a kid, and, you know, being able to draw like a muscle, you know, Goku or Gohan or someone is, I mean, maybe it's what you get used to, but it's probably a lot harder, in my opinion, than actually drawing a character like this and actually making it look good. You know, it's quite easy for it to sort of come out quite strange or distorted or that sort of thing. But I really think that the sculpt job for this one was just really good. Just really makes her look, yeah, just the sort of whole you know, feeling of that figure just looks great. Now, one thing I was worried about with this figure was that it was a bit small, but I think, you know, honestly, if you consider, like, I mean, that's sort of her standing up, so if she kind of had her head straight, she'd probably be about this height maybe. So, you know, if you compare that to, say, Android 16 or Android 20, that kind of seems to be within scale, roughly. But the thing is, she's not standing up, she's sitting down, and so that does make her look a bit small. But I was a bit worried about that, but I really don't think it's a problem. Because I think the sculpt, the sort of stance that she's in looks great. She's actually looking up anyway. And the other great thing about that is that if you actually had her like standing up in a sort of pose like this on a base, she'd kind of block the other figures. But when you sort of make a display like this, you can very easily put her in the foreground, and it works. You know, it looks good. So I don't think that is an issue. But just as a comparison for size, that's an iPhone 5 case. So you can see that she's just a tad smaller than that. Or if I actually measure, how tall she is, so she's about, yeah, she's about 11 centimeters, about 110 millimeters, which is how many inches is that? 4 inches. A bit smaller, 3.5 inches. But yeah, it looks great. So it's a real shame that Banpresto haven't released an Android 17 figure, because if they did, that would look really, really good. An Android 18, very popular character. Series 6, SCultures Series 6 actually had a voting. They put 50 characters there. People could vote which figure they wanted to see the most. Android 18 was voted number 3. Only behind Super Saiyan 2 Goku and Super Saiyan 3 Goku. So, you know, clearly a lot of love for Android 18. Now, in terms of how you could display this figure, there was a second stage cell released in Series 5, and obviously this is the guy that tries to suck her up, I guess you could say. So you could make that display. The other option you could do, obviously, is the androids that you see in the background. The other option is with Krillin. Now this guy is actually quite small as well, so he's kind of the same height. And he was actually released in Series 2 SCultures. This was actually meant to be Krillin when he was in the Dragon Ball rather than Dragon Ball Z, but since he doesn't really change, that works fine. So you could do that. There were 2 other Android 18 figures that have been released. One is the Pitchy Pitchy Girls one, which kind of has her on a black rounded base standing up, kind of similar to these figures. But she looks a bit grumpy in that figure, and it's also a very, very expensive figure. So this is definitely a great alternative. The other one is the Creatures series, which Banpresto released a few years ago, which kind of captures the scary characters. There in that series, there was a second stage Cell that was released with an Android 18 actually being sucked up into his tail. It's quite cool, quite gross at the same time, but that's another one that you could add to your sort of Android display. But anyway, that's the review for the Android 18 SCultures Series 3 figure. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you want this figure, get in touch with us in the details in the description of this video. And hope you enjoyed watching. See you in the next video.